Hey, you did it. You're here. Welcome to the Growers Hangout, presented by supportdopepeople.com. Pack one up, spark it, sit back. Let's go. Hey, you did it. You're here. Welcome to the Growers Hangout. I'm Aaron, here with my co-hosts Kris and Pete. What's up, boys? How are you?
What's going on, guys?
Man, it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday, and we're here. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
You guys survived the storms?
Shit.
I had a little bit of a surge.
Surge?
But it was okay. Not like everybody else that I saw all over the ring at.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. We had in the Chicagoland area, we had like a bunch of tornadoes last night, and we had a little baby earthquake. It was pretty crazy. So
Yeah.
hopefully everybody's cool. My power at the spot only went on and off, so all the lights and everything are still on timers, and everything's good and backed up. So I didn't have anything bad happen there. You guys, I know
the LEDs.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, I used to have LECs, which are similar to CMHs. So anytime that happened, or if a surge happened, more specifically, you would have to race downstairs and unplug it to give it a cool down. And we ended up losing a bulb one time a couple years back.
That's no good.
So shout out to LEDs.
That's no bueno.
Yeah.
That's no good. Kris, you got some outside plants, don't you? Did they survive?
Okay. So we had, as you said, 3 days straight of pretty much like torrential monsoon downpours and super high winds, like little microbursts, and me being out in kind of, flatter area, kind of susceptible to the high winds. So I have a couple of goat plants outside. I have the Guava Garcia, which is super short, Christmas tree shaped, and that thing was unfazed. He's like, "Bring it, bitch!" And nothing.
How's the grapefruit sorbet?
Okay, so I lost 2 huge branches off of it, like devastatingly huge branches.
Oh no!
But I will say, if this was an indoor plant, these would have been lowers that I probably would have trimmed off.
Right.
But this plant grew so monstrously large and so like globe shaped that if you look at it now and you hadn't seen it before, you'd be like, okay, this plant is huge. But knowing what it was before, so one thing that I did to rectify the situation, because those branches actually broke off the night before last night, which were where we had 39 confirmed touchdown tornadoes in the northwest Illinois area. I went and put in some stake poles. They were about they're 5-footers, and bought a pack of 25 of them from the grow shop. And I have them in 3, 4, and 5 foot. They come in 6 foot. I probably need to get some of the 6 foot for the outdoor stuff, to be perfectly honest. Went and staked them down, and the plant was unfazed last night with the worst of the 3 storms.
Wow.
So
really?
My biggest issue is my backyard, the way that it actually kind of slopes in that area, and I have really bad flooding. We call it Lake Carlson. And we have about 4 inches of standing water right now. Fortunately, my plants are kind of on a raised area where my shed is, because we built the shed was built up on a higher plane.
Yeah.
So it's not affecting those, although they are definitely over water. You could tell they just don't have the same perk that they did the other day before all the heavy rains. But they're going to recover fine. I'm actually more concerned about the backside of my shed where my wife's dolly is, because they are not very happy with us right now. I ordered a pump from Amazon. It was supposed to be here yesterday, and it got delayed until tomorrow.
Bro, so, I'll bring you mine. Like, just say something.
Come tomorrow, I will definitely take you up on that, because it's like kind of a situation.
Harbor Freight too. Go to Harbor Freight.
I went to China, aka Amazon.
Okay, well that's cool. Well, it is Amazon Prime Day, so shout out to Amazon Prime. Hope you're getting all your Amazon stuff, cat litter, dog food, other heavy things, whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Excuse me, sorry. I've been holding that cough from the Puffco for a minute. Shout out to Portal Provisions, Colorado's finest. Hash tastes good. Miles, love that stuff. I got a few left. I still got a head stash, so I'm happy about that. But Melt Market's coming up, so I'm gonna stock up with some Terp Wizard maybe. I think should be fun
for that. Are you going both days or just?
Yes, I have a booth. Fox Valley Growers Club is going to be there with informational activities and information. So
nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. So yeah, I'll be there both days. Shit. Speaking of,
let's bring up our guest.
Yeah.
That's literally what I was just gonna say, and you're just so on it, Pete, that you're you just take the words right out of my mouth, as you seem to do sometimes. So, Chris, I would ask you to do it, but I don't want to put you on the spot. So, we have Eric from Thrive Probiotics, and we're all super excited to have him on. And here he is. What up, Eric? How are you, brother?
What's up, everybody? Thank you guys for having me. It means a lot
Thanks
to me.
for coming, man. Thanks
for sure. Hey, man, we're probiotic pioneers, right?
We're the front four-hole, man.
That's right.
We're the first to be kind of, in this lifeline, in this timeline,
Sure.
We forgot about, was pushed out away from our education, and we're just here to let everybody know what was lost.
Yeah. I think it's important to continue to pass out the word that's been given to us, and if you believe in it, then shout it, because then you're undeniable. And being undeniable that's it, baby. Be undeniable. When you're right, you're right. Hell yeah,
it works. I mean, it's what Gaia intended,
Dude, you're right. I mean, let nature do nature stuff. You know what I mean? Like, let nature do nature stuff. Why even argue with it? You can't. So, man, it's so cool to have you. We were rewatching some Buildasoil videos today. I gave the guys some homework. We all contribute in our own way, and I was like, oh, we got to go back and we got to watch this stuff, so we're up on it. And we were all at the we had Miles out for an event. He talked about some probiotic stuff too. So it's really cool to have you on, dude. I've been using Yah-Whey in my earth box ever since I got an earth box. Like, I put a little bit in the reservoir every time I fill it up. Plants love it.
That Yah-Whey pray.
Oh man, they just pray. It has this nice little, it's got that film, and so it protects all that water from anything getting in. Not that anything would crawl in, but I feel like it does a little extra. And Chris gave me a little bit of that holy cow, and holy cow, that stuff is great, man. How did you figure that out?
Man, just working around some of the best people in the industry. Taking what I've been doing for years with my health and my plants, and then just doubling up on what I believe. And it's minerals, especially calcium, not just the minerals themselves, the amino acids, and then also bacteria that fixate everything, that release these enzymes. A lot of people talk about CalMag. Well, CalMag's not a thing unless if you have the right bacillus, the right bacteria fixating it, opening it up, really unlocking the potential of what calcium can do. And everything kind of falls under that mothership. It's like I tell people, it's like the frame of the car. You have a wonderful engine, but if it's not on a frame, the tires don't make sense. The engine doesn't make sense. Even the fuel that you're giving it doesn't make sense. And that's why the hydro world was all, it needs more CalMag. It's like, yes, but it needs the actually bacteria that create it, that fixate it, that bring it to the plant. So just with the fundamentals of being in Colorado, I started researching raw milk dairies.
Nice.
I was looking for my own food, locally sourced, and my own milk. So once I found that, it was over. And that's where Yah-Whey started. And then I wanted to take it up a notch because a lot of the big time growers were getting into it. A lot of big greenhouse growers were getting into it. We're using a lot of gallons. And I wanted to make something that stopped so much plastic use. So I decided to start adding a product from Buildasoil called Cal, which is very high in calcium, phosphorus, magnesium. And what I'm finding is when you have the essential amino acids and the basic carbon structure and the right bacteria, these little suckers can turn anything into anything.
Yeah.
They can really just, man, it's magic to watch these little guys work under like a microscope and see what they can actually do. But yeah, it's just like when they say make strong bones. You know, calcium is such an important thing, but like I said, it's the biology that's really making it all work, and that's what Yah-Whey and Holy Cow deliver. They deliver life, and that's why I called it Yah-Whey. Yah-Whey is just another word for creation, or it's actually, if you want to get deep into it, it means to breathe in and breathe out. And without the breath, you have nothing. So I just like to help these bacteria breathe while they're in the soil. They create their own oxygen. You know, a lot of people get worried about like anaerobic bacteria, anaerobe. Well, you got to realize you stick your head in soil and you try to breathe, there's no oxygen. Right. Very tiny amounts. So we have to realize and rely on these microbes to create oxygen, to create carbon dioxide, to create methane, to create ammonia. They're gas creators. They're farters.
Yeah.
I've been able to lock the little poopers and the little farters in a bottle and give you a little taste, give you your starter. Because you can take this and you can make your own. And that's what I want to teach people here today. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't always buy these products back after back. You can make them yourself. This is just the start.
No, you can take a little culture. It's just like sourdough. Like, you know, that San Francisco sourdough eventually takes on the properties of wherever you're at. And it's your starter then, but it just came from something else. You're just taking a specific snapshot of bacteria at that time and moving it from place to place.
And what's going on is these are all indigenous microbes coming from these cows. These cows are naturally grass feeding through their meadows, through their fields. Yeah. And they're picking up all the indigenous Colorado microbes. Yeah. And then I take it a step above that and add my kefir grains that I've been having for years, making my own kefir. My mother was a kombucha, or she still is a kombucha maker. So it's something that kind of ran in the family. When my mother got cancer like 10 years ago, she's been fighting it through natural practices and stuff like that. So I've taken everything I've learned from the health world and implementing it into the soil world, because we're all the same. We come from soil. We eat things from soil.
That's right.
And then we go back into the soil. So It's just, you know, double down on your soil education, and you'll be phenomenal in whatever you do.
That's awesome. So obviously you ethically sourced your farm and your milk, and like, because obviously you very conscious about that, which is, I think, what aligns you with, you know, everybody in Colorado and the Buildasoil family so much, is just like really doing the work, you know, right. really trying to like care about what you're putting into your medicine so that you can take from the medicine too. I think that's super cool, man.
Exactly. And the medicine knows what kind of environment you put yourself into.
What good juju and what bad juju.
Exactly. So if you come into the environment and you're growing, you're all stressed out, you're wondering why your plants are all stressed out, y'all have a correlation. Y'all are both water and carbon based.
That's right.
And that's a frequency. That is a vibration. You know, so if you go in there with that stress from your old lady, your kids, your friends, your work, you got to leave that shit at the door, because the plants are now receiving that. And none of these products will work. You'll actually deter the bacteria in the bottle. They're listening. You know, so that's one big thing I want to tell people is like, man, you have to really know that we are all connected at all times.
Hell yeah.
You can throw everything under the sun at them, but if you're not truly in love with what you're doing, and you're not truly in love with this hobby and this culture, then you might need to rethink about what you're doing during the day.
Hey, that's one of the great things about cannabis being one of the great teachers She is one of the great plant teachers on this earth put here, and you have to use her in the right way. And if you don't, she will teach you a lesson quickly and harshly.
It's one of the most high vibrating plants on this planet. It was made by Gaia. It was made by God for a reason. And if you don't try to match her with that high vibration, you're only going to bring her down. And then incense brings you down with the medicine she creates. You know, that's what I see a lot of this dispo weed, man. I'm originally from New Orleans. We never see these talks and stuff like this. We never had any of this. We
Nope.
couldn't talk about anything,
Mm-mm.
you know?
100%.
So yeah, it was knowing that, you know, you get around the right people, the right vibes, and everything else makes sense, you know?
Spot on.
Hell yeah. I haven't had any dispo weed from New Orleans or Louisiana, but I know
we would get the worst. It was the stuff that wouldn't make it to the dispo, and it would give me anxiety. It would make me freak out. It'd give me depression. You know, it'd make me sneeze and cough and do all these
make
crazy
you sick.
Yeah, it was. And that's what's led me to grow my own cannabis years ago in an illegal state, looking at 25 years in prison, you know?
Man, I mean, yeah, that's true. That's true.
You alter your girlfriends, you alter your relationship with your friends, all for this plant. You know, so once my mom found out, my family found out that I was growing again, they started sending me articles about people getting locked up, going to jail for life, 25 years. And that's where I made the move. And I called Buildasoil one day and I was like, hey guys, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. I've been using you guys' products. I can't stop watching you at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm fixated on the content. And they're like, all right, well, you know, if you want to take that jump, come on out here and come see us. And, you know, big shout out to Kevin, the one of the managers at Buildasoil, man. He gave me that opportunity right off the back. Just a random guy calling up saying, hey, this is my passion. I'm doing this illegally and I'm afraid to go to jail. What can you do for me?
I mean, we're in Illinois and it is actually illegal to grow here unless you're a medical patient. And we have some of the most restrictive laws. So it's still kind of illegal here. So I get you. But hell yeah, just taking the move and just going to Colorado. We can all, because Pete and Chris and I have been Chris and I especially have been obsessed with the Buildasoil YouTube series, getting into organic living soil. I remember when he was just starting, he remembers when I was just starting, and now here we are. And now we got Pete starting. There's so many people in the chat that we've got it started. So it's crazy, right? It's crazy. One day you're just
hello and welcome to Buildasoil.
And then the next day you're I'm all in. I'm just
yeah, I tell people all the time, it's a lifestyle change. As soon as you pick up the living soil lifestyle, you start to see the inputs for your plants and the effect, and then you start to realize that cause effect relationship, and then you start to evaluate the things that you put in your own body. And I think it kind of opened it definitely, for me, it kind of opened my horizons and made me research things at a deeper level. And it's been just really fulfilling. And the great thing is that as much as I might know now, I don't know shit compared to how much information is out there. And even the most knowledgeable people in this field don't know shit compared to the amount of knowledge that is still yet to be uncovered. So it's absolutely fascinating to me, and I love hearing. It's interesting hearing your story, Eric, when you talk about, because I can already envision that sales call, because it wasn't a sales call. You were selling yourself when you're
Exactly.
You're selling your passion. I can already hear that phone call, and as somebody who has professionally sought talent for my company, that passion comes across, and you can immediately tell you would be somebody I would invest in, And I think this is a testament to the stick-to-itiveness. And I think maybe it might be unique to the cannabis industry, because I don't see it as much in the corporate industry. If there's somebody that you want to work with and you aspire to, you and I, Eric, we got to work with Jeremy. I was just a fanboy for years. And then I had this idea to do crop culture. and then I had to come up with the idea to figure out a way to work with him. And it took me about over a year to get his attention, and finally
Yeah,
did.
man, we would see your stuff coming in all the time, and he's like, "Man, this crop culture keeps on sending stuff. What? Who is this guy?" I'm like, "Man," he's like, "I got to give this guy a chance. He's relentless."
I work for a sales company, a sales organization, but anyway, so that's kind of like ingrained in me. It's like I've kind of drawn inspiration from all the roles that I've held throughout my professional life. Like I work with all these salespeople. I learned from the best salespeople and how they approach getting their prospective clients' attention, because it's sometimes a very long process, because it has to be the right timing. They have to be receptive to that message. So no matter how well written your email is or how catchy your subject line is, at the end of the day, if they're not receptive to seeing that message, you're just going to delete it, right? But if you don't take that initial no or non-response as final, you find a way. Make a phone call. Go in person if it's possible. It wasn't for me, but I'm just saying, there's always a way, and if you have the passion and you have the drive, that will come across. And I think we have two examples right here on the live of that being the case. So
yeah, man, listening to that higher self, dude. Don't ever stop listening to that voice. That is your ultimate guidance in life. No matter what it says, try to do it. What I always recommend: go fail, go mess up, go do something that really isn't for you, fall forward, and then get back up, and then you're like, oh, well, this is actually what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a small business in New Orleans, and I was spraying bleach every day for a living. I was making really good money, a 6-figure a year job, my own little small business, but I was chasing money. And it
remediation.
What's that? No, it was pressure washing houses. As far as the exterior mold, all like
remediation. That's right. Yeah.
That. Not inside, but mostly all outside. But yeah, mold remediation, as far as making things that are full of life have no life, including yourself. You're in that environment. Like I said, with the plants, I was killing things for a living, and something was knocking on my head saying, "What are you doing?" Every day I would kill hundreds of earthworms, watching them come out of the ground and die. And I was like, you know what? We got to flip this around. And, thank whoever was speaking to me, my higher self, called God, Yah-Whey, whatever. It was, I just doubled down. Voice, Jah, man.
I love everything you're speaking, man. It's resonating with me, and it's something I'm tapping into. A lot of people don't understand, but I'm truly understanding what you're saying.
And I understand. Vibrations, baby.
Vibrations. No, and why they don't is because of their food, their environment. Just like these plants, everything is the stimulation from the roots and the plants in the soil. All right, everything is connected through this biome. So if you're putting in shitty energy, you're putting in low vibrational food into the soil or your gut, then you will never be able to hear and understand what we're talking about. But it takes, like I said, it takes people getting sick. I had to get sick in order to understand this high vibration that people are talking about. And, now it's making sense. Perspective.
That's what I talk about all the time. You have perspective. Like I had a cancer scare, and I was doing what you were talking about, chasing money. Like every job, I was just trying to take a step forward. And it was really more so like to provide more for my family. That's kind of how I justify it. But I was always chasing that dollar. And then my whole world flipped upside down. I thought, holy shit, I might fucking die. And I had to start quickly come to terms with that. And then when it turned out that they somehow misread my scan, don't even ask. But what? Yeah,
you have the worst luck.
So but I was thankful, obviously, that I didn't have cancer, so I'm not gonna be upset about that. But my outlook on everything completely changed. Like I'm more patient with people. Like my priorities have completely changed. I don't prioritize physical possessions anymore. It's about trying to do as much good in the little time that we have here, because it just put everything into a little clear ball for me, a globe to see. I could see, everything that I wanted to accomplish in my life, and it was all about the people that I interact with, and leaving a positive impression when I leave. I set a very low bar for every interaction I have. Just have a positive interaction with them. That's it.
Exactly. It's not what happens to you; it's how you deal with what happens
Right.
to you, brother.
Absolutely.
How you deal with it.
Yeah, I mean that's an important thing about, I think, failure, and being realistic about what you are doing in life. You know what I mean? Certain people come to certain points where they go, what is important to me, what is not, when you're facing mortality. Especially, I think I've said this before, but probably bears repeating. Something about being a gardener where you're cultivating death all the time. It's this cycle of rebirth, right? You're taking the plant to the very edge, and then you're chopping it down, and then you're starting anew. You know what I mean? And it kind of cultivates your mind towards that, and you start to, especially as you get older, you're like, like, I've only got so many years left. What am I going to do? And the important part is to just like push away the negativity, take what you want, take the good stuff, and just keep doing it, because all there's left is failure now. And who, everybody can say I failed, but who can say I failed and then I did it again and then I succeeded?
Exactly. You got back up on that horse, baby.
Yeah. Like just get in on that horse, and like, use the garden for, whatever metaphor you like, but like, use it in the right way.
Definitely. Fail as soon as you can. Get that out of the way.
Yeah, like, let's go.
Yeah, that's why I see like a lot of these trust fund kids. And it's like, man, y'all are going to be 40 and y'all are going to fail. And then y'all are going to, probably commit suicide or take someone else's life or do something really, really crazy because you didn't really get the dirty work out of the way.
And they're just faceless people now, in the long run anyway. So who cares? They ain't gonna be around. They ain't gonna be around.
No, they won't. They aren't supposed to be. They're just your background people, man. They're just there to show you a lesson. They're not real.
NPCs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. NPCs.
Hell yeah,
man.
All right, so Eric, I want to talk about Thrive Yah-Whey, because I've been using it for 3 years now. It is my OG favorite product. This is what I tell people when I get asked, tell me something I need to add to my garden regimen that's going to show like an immediate improvement. I always default to Thrive, because that is the one product that I have used that shows that relatively immediate turgor response. I mean, we're talking within hours, 6 hours, I see a turgor response when I come back to my plants. And it's not because I did it in the morning and they were still droopy. Like I will come in late morning, and I will come back in the afternoon, and they will be fraying like crazy. What is it about Thrive Yah-Whey specifically that is so magical, and how can people start to implement this in their garden? When do you recommend, like, what phases of the plant's life cycle and things like that?
All right. Well, first off, you got to know who's creating your products or your food. First off, if they have low energy, then you're creating a low energy product. No matter what's in there, it's all about that transfer of energy. And I make every single bottle by hand myself. This isn't a big corporation or big company. I am doing everything. And I talk to this solution in the like 275-gallon tote tanks. I talk to this when I make little blessings on this. I speak to these bacteria, and these bacteria are naturally forming. I don't buy them from anywhere, so they're not compromised. They're not homogenized. They're not pasteurized. They came from those cows, came from their grains directly into the bottle. And it's all about, like I said, the species of bacteria. They are the ones who know what to do, when to do it, because there's correlation, like just with me and you, us, we vibe together. We are all on the same page. So I found a certain group of species that really love acid-loving soil, that really love, they really love acid-loving plants. And you got to think about, we're all parts of amino acids built to make proteins. So I found out the essential amino acids that these bacteria create, like lactic acid, acetic acid, all these acids, and humic acid, they are used as magnets. If you have no magnets, then you have no energy. So just like this planet is magnetic, the sun is electric. If you find a way to harness magnetic and electric together, meaning your living organisms with their right food, then you have something that is extremely responsive. Just like when you get sick and you take the right things and all of a sudden you get better, or if you're really healthy or you're just having a great day and all of a sudden you wake up sick. That is because you introduced the wrong microbes, whether it was somebody or some food. That's how fast things should be. And I don't tell them to calm down. I don't put anything to weaken them. I give them their food that God gave them. You know, these, like I said, milk is one of the most nutritious things on this planet. Maybe not for humans all the time, because I learned my lesson. I was drinking way too much milk and kefir, and it actually upset my stomach. It started to bloat me out. And I learned from that. And I really dug deep into Hinduism, Buddhism. I started looking into the properties of milk. Why is the cow so sacred? It's because they have a composition of certain microbes that are binded already with calcium and magnesium and carbon. All right. And now if you can just release this into the soil, the plant calls in that microbe and releases its guts, its food. These microbes already are full of food. And that's what really separates this from anything else, is because I'm using a natural product made from Gaia that already fed what they already started eating. So a lot of people just dump molasses into their tanks and say, oh, here's a ferment, molasses and some plants, and there you go. That's not always true, because if you took just a sugar diet, you wouldn't be so healthy. So what this is polysaccharides. This is more complex sugars. This is fats, oil, proteins. And when you get
Cakes and cookies.
Exactly. And you're giving them a whole food, a holistic approach. And that's what milk has the property to do. Their stomach, the soil, can now take these enzymes that these bacteria are creating, these minerals, these nutrients, and now they can use them because they're available. It's not just in rock form that has to go through a worm and then get locked onto a certain bacteria. I'm doing all this for you in these tanks. So all these bottles that you get, man, this is months in the making. This isn't a very fast process. You don't want things to be fast. When they're fast, they're too made from man. When things are made from God and earth, things take a little while. So with that being said, milk takes forever for them to really break down and release in the soil. But when they get released, it's not just sugar. Like I said, it's the fats, it's the oils, it's the main composition of terpenes. If you look into what a terpene is it's acids. It's acids that build an oil. It's just like when you're trying to build a brick wall. Brick walls they'll go up, but they need the mortar. So this is like the glue that will go in and it'll grab a cation, like a calcium ion. It'll grab some magnesium, and it will also fixate bacteria, because that's what bacteria do. They're eating, pooping, pissing, and they're creating life as they're doing this. So it's the composition of probiotics with the right prebiotics, with their natural indigenous food source. Because like I said, molasses isn't always the best choice. Because why? That's a highly monocrop crop. Mm-hmm. And just with that being said, nature has a way of slowing things down that are monocropped. Now, molasses is in this bottle to help them get fed longer, but the milk content is what really sets them apart. Because like I said, if we're growing these plants for essential oils, we can't put salts in our soil or in our cocoa and expect terpenes. It's like the old day, like, stank for stank, stank brings the dank. Well, that's because there's oils and proteins breaking down that are complex. It's not just this single chain, simple sugar. We want to get oils for oils. So I was always taught, I used to fish a lot. We used to have a small fishing business. So I would take all my carcasses and I would throw them into my soil beds. And that's where I found explosive life. Well, once the fish kind of dried up, I looked for the next best thing that I knew that oils were containing, and that's natural cow's milk. Breast milk is amazing too. So if you have a birthing mother, try to get a little bit of breast milk from the baby and then ferment that down, give that to yourself and the plants, and you will be amazed. You know, it's the first thing that really any human mammal touches. It's extremely nutritious. And like I said, I find that milk has the composition of actually turning into whatever the plant or the soil needs. That's not just calcium. We're talking about manganese. We're talking about iron. We're talking about copper. Copper is a very important mineral that a lot of people don't talk about. Copper and iron are metals that create electricity in the soil. Cation exchange, it's all about electricity. So this is literally creating electricity in your soil. And that's why you see that amazing pop. It's because it's electric. It's living. These things can't wait to get into your soil and go feed the plant and do what it's intended to do. It's all about the transfer of energy, man. The energy is never lost or gained. It's only transferred. So if you have really good energy built up, like in these bottles, then your host, the next partner, is going to really benefit.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying. And you know, the plant's gonna tell the enzymes what it needs anyway. So like it's an even exchange, you know what I mean? It's going in, it's taking, it's giving, it's going back out. It's a whole thing. It's all atoms moving in the long run anyway, which is what electricity and vibration are. Everything, you know?
Exactly. And if you can look at like what excredates are, excredates are extremely complex polysaccharides. They're extremely complex sugar that the plant creates for the microbes. That's what Yah-Whey has in the bottle. I found a way to manipulate those exudates and get those bacteria real excited looking for the plant. They're getting the signals, but they can't find the plant. They're getting those polysaccharides. They're getting those complex sugars. So once they finally see the plant, boom, there's no hesitation. It immediately goes in the plant. The plant opens up those microbes. They release whatever goodness they have, repair them. It's called superoxide. It's a wild thing. There's these studies. I forgot the guy that does it. I'm using someone else's words right now. But the plant has the ability to literally open these microbes up, release all their nutrients, seal them back, clone them, send them back on their way.
That's right.
So you got to watch out when using these ferments too, because you don't want to add too much, because too much of anything will hurt you. These bacteria are growing in your soil. So if you go into like an overwatered situation, which a lot of us do, then you definitely want to have this as your backup, because this will protect the roots from overwatering and vice versa, underwatering. Why? Because it's just like your gut biome. You need something that's protecting your insides at all times.
Right.
So these microbes, they go around the roots and they protect it. And what they do is they create their own gases. Like I was saying earlier, oxygen, carbon dioxide, methane, ammonia. These are all gases that are needed around the root zone to prevent all that water intrusion. So if you get the right microbes around the root zone, you will prevent catastrophe from overwatering. So if you like heavy water and heavy feeding, you definitely need to get the microbes, definitely get some Yah-Whey and some Holy Cow or any of the ferment lines. They will really help add that gut flora, that root zone protection over the roots. That way there's like a wax shield, and it kind of gives you a buffer.
I mean, and that's for anytime you're dealing with a lot of soil, whether you're planting, you know, big tomatoes or you know, monstera plants or anything where it's like you have a lot of, I think, monstera plants. Chris will tell me if I'm wrong. He's way more intelligent about that. Shout out to him for houseplant questions. Anywhere you have a lot of soil, that's what you want. You want that protection. You can like put this in. You should put this in everything. You really should.
Yeah, all house plants love it. There's one thing though, is if you don't have enough food, like that was the thing with the Yah-Whey. They will start multiplying like crazy. So if you don't have enough food, then you might start to see a deficiency, because it'll pop for weeks. But that means you need to feed the bacteria in the soil, not just this plant. Like we always say, man, you're feeding the soil. And that's so true, because now you've taken, let's just say 1,000 colony units, and now we're in the billions.
Right.
And now you need to open up the floodgates and bring in the food. And that's why I came up with Holy Cow. it has a lot more food content, a lot more, let's just say carbon, because carbon has the tendency of actually manipulating itself and going and fixing and making whatever it needs.
So this, holy cow, came in huge for me. I've been using it it's been a couple months now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a 4x2 tent that I use as a transitional tent. I have like my seedlings in there, and I usually have my reg seeds in there until they're big enough so I can sex them, and then I transition them into the other tents. They tend to get a little neglected. I do this, they're in 1 gallons. I kind of neglect them because I am confident in my ability to quickly bring them back. So I don't tend to them super closely. But I wanted to do a little side-by-side test because I had 2 of 99 Moons from Gabe Wilson's Mountain Preservations. I'm running for him, and which I have to say, I'm running 3 Moons and 3 Widows, and they all stink like to high hell. Like the stem rub is already crazy on all of them, but just a little sidebar. Anyways, so I was showing calcium and magnesium deficiencies on 2 of these plants, and I wanted to do a little side-by-side test. I watered one with the holy cow, one without it, with all my other stuff that I normally put in there. Everything was the same, the only difference was the holy cow. Within 3 days, they were back to green. The deficiency had gone away. And what I loved about it was that I feel like it's going to be something that for me, where I would stop using Thrive probably midway through flower.
Yes, definitely. Definitely don't want to have any.
Right. And that's usually where if you are growing organic and you didn't really play your timeline right, you could start showing some deficiency, then you're kind of playing catch up as you get into later flower. This is going to be like the perfect kind of like buffer, I feel like. For me in particular, when I forget to to feed or something, to kind of help, just buy you some time,
man, life comes up, dude. Life keeps coming up, and you like, oh shit, my plants.
Exactly. But I would love to know, like, I know you had told me previously, like, you added obviously, in addition to the kefir, you had the humic acid. And I would love to know just like how all of that works together to make it such an amazing product.
Okay, so holy cow and Yah-Whey, they're composed with that humic acid. But one thing that I turned up in the holy cow was the coconut sugar as well. And that's just upon that philosophy of using magnets. Just think of acids as magnets. They're going out there with a certain charge. And let's just say your plant's negatively charged. Humic acids are positively charged. So when you release a positively charged ion, and let's just say calcium and nitrogen and manganese, they're all negative as well. So when you send out that positive ion, it's going to go attract all the goodies. It's going to go attract all of the actual food, the elements, the minerals. And now you have it bringing it back to the plant, because it's like fishing with dynamite. You're literally releasing a magnet, and it's bringing in all the metals, the good metals, to the plant. Now the plant can call it in and bring it in. But you also need that bacteria. The bacteria is what's really going to grab onto everything, ingest that, now bring it into the plant. As we talk about microbes being like the transport system, well, the microbes need a little bitty help from the humic acid and the lactic acid and the acetic acid. Those are all enzymes that melt. So let alone these are, let's just say, metals, the metal needs to be melted, right? Once that metal is melted and then binded, now the bacteria can eat on it and bring it back to the plant. And now the plant knows what to do with it, because without acids, just like in your stomach creates acids to digest food. And that's just like a magnet in your stomach latching onto that food or that little piece of potato or that little piece of meat. It needs to now jump on there, and then another acid will begin to break it down. So it's all about the acid exchange with these minerals, because like I said, it's all salts and metals in our soil. You want to try to stay away from the heavy metals, but the softer metals and the salts, like the basalts, That's where the acids come in from, because the plant doesn't really know what it is, because like I said, they're not charged they have the same charge. So when you put just rock dust, when you put anything that's just basic in its basic form, it's like pushing two positive magnets next to each other. They're going to repel. And that's where you get those lockouts. And it's not always calcium and mag deficiencies. You lost the microbe. You lost the acid that can fixate the calcium and the magnesium inside the body of the microbe to bring it into the plant. So it's not always just the elements. It's not just a salt molecule. It's not just a metal molecule. That metal and that salt has to have some type of acid negatively charged or positively charged to attach to the little negatives to bring it back to the mothership, which is the ultimate big negative charge. So like I said, it's really in depth with really frequency and charges. It's not necessarily the inputs individually. It's where they're getting broken down, melted, and then charged up, and now it can go to the plant.
Man, I wish it was my high school science teacher.
That's just kind of like a layman's terms. It gets really deep.
No, yeah.
I start losing track myself when it gets too deep.
But no, I think you're doing good, man. Like, yeah, no, I was just thinking, man, I cannot wait to like go back, because I put these out on podcasts too. So you'll like shout out to the Spotify and Amazon listeners and all that. But I want to sit down and just like listen again, you know what I mean? And just really ingest the information, because a lot of it sounds high level, but this is basic science. This is basic. This is nature, baby. Man.
It's the bar magnets in chemistry, or whatever we had, those bar magnets showing north and south. It's never going to hit if it's north and north. And that's the same thing with the plant and the minerals. They don't like each other. Okay.
Right.
They don't
know. You gotta start hip escaping
until the microbes come. And like I said, you got to know the right microbes that like the right elements that your plant wants. Like I said, with the holy cow and the Yah-Whey, those microbes love calcium. And they love everything else. But like I said, any time of year, these cows are feeding on different things. Now they're creating a different milk. So like in winter comes, it's actually going to be a little bit different of a microbiology. It's going to be a little bit different biome. Actually, different cows I'll get from different milk. They have about 10 cows. So any given cow is releasing different microbiomes into the product. So I've had it tested 3 times, and we're getting different bacillus species nearly every time, because it's different times of the year. There's different microbes in the air. I'm not too sure if y'all know about astrology or not, but the way these planets and these magnets are running through this solar system is everly changing. We're moving through dark matter. We're moving through something. These cows are picking that up through the grass, through their food. And that's where it's changing up the Yah-Whey. And that's what the plants love, because these indoor plants don't get to see outside. They don't get this diversity of the seasons. They don't get this diversity of a chicken coming around, a cow coming around, or even your dog taking a shit by the plants. They need it all, because why? It's a war down there. These microbes are eating each other. You need life and you need death. You need war for all this to make sense, because once the microbe dies, that's when the plant can get the food. And that's what the plant does. The plant literally kills these microbes. The plants are carnivores. The plants are they're cannibals. They want to eat as much living organisms as possible, because they know the insides is where the goodness is. That's where the juice. So I say, everybody, it's like a bunch of lions going to feed on gazelles and zebras. They want the juice, but these plants have the ability to fix them. These plants have the ability to clone them. All right. So that's what I was saying. You want to watch out not to add too much, because if your soil's on point, your conditions are on point, your plant's now creating the microbes you just gave it.
I have a question for you. Speaking of not using too much, I just want to ask you, because like it's probably just easier for me that way, and I'm kind of lazy. So I always use Thrive Yah-Whey in my earth boxes, and I try to help. I try to teach people how to grow medicinal cannabis. I always recommend an earth box. I always use Thrive. What I've learned is that if you continue to put Thrive in all the way through flower, my plants don't senesce.
No, they won't. They won't. And they'll go 17 weeks. They'll go 20 weeks. They'll go forever because everybody wants to live on this earth as long as possible. But we need the microbes. You're definitely right.
Yeah. So what's the best time to stop? When should I stop? Couple weeks before?
Right. Are we talking about the earth box in particular?
Yes.
So if you're not a big heavy feeder, you can go a little bit longer.
Okay.
But if you are a feeder, you are a top dresser, you're a compostee,
build it away.
Yeah, like week 4, week 5. And we're talking about not these 8-week strains. If you're having a plant that's finishing in 8 weeks, throw it out. You are dealing with hybridized. That's a commercial plant. That's not a real.
Wrong. You're not wrong. People can be mad. Be mad.
Yeah, that's not real cannabis, guys. That was made by man. All cannabis, even the high alpine.
That's a cookie strain.
Yeah. So my strains usually go from around 13, 14, 15 weeks.
Okay.
And I'll cut them off around 5 or 6 weeks, depending on my feeding. But sometimes if it's second, third run in an earth box, you can go a little bit longer.
Right.
Maybe 3 to 4 weeks before, when you start to see the buds really dense out, that means they're good. That means they reached that point of oh shit, I'm in week 3, 4, 5, and they're starting to yellow. They're starting to brown tears. If you get through all that, that means you can stop. That means that your soil is so live with it already. They're cloning them and they're using themselves. And that's what is so important. You want to use something that works for you overnight while you're sleeping.
Yeah.
You don't want to keep being hydro. Just give them more. Because look, with the holy cow, especially with the holy cow, you will have that bud get so fucking big, you'll get bud rot. All right. And that's one thing you don't want to do.
Oh, we get that here in Illinois. I've got that. I had that 2 grows ago.
Right. They'll get so dense. And now we're talking about too much man intervention.
Right.
So you want to use nature. You want to use Gaia. But remember, you cut your ego, cut them off, save your money too. Because like I said, those bacteria that you've been putting in there, especially if you've been putting them in there from the start.
Yeah, you're just adding to the army. You got an army now, and what are you even adding to it?
You're just now you're just killing the microbes off that are coming in because there's only so many that can get in. Yeah. But so I'm always testing. So I did some holy cow testing, and I was at 18 weeks and the plants weren't finishing. So if you use too much, the plants won't finish. They'll just keep on putting out white hairs and just keep on growing. So
I learned that the hard way. I was like, I don't know why this isn't finishing. And then I just finally cut them and I was like, all right, it's done. And then I don't know if Jeremy mentioned it on an FAQ or something, or maybe Chris said it to me. He was like, dude, maybe just, don't add the Thrive. And I was like, oh yeah, because I just get in the zone and I'm just like, oh, well, I'm going to put water in it today. So I got to put my little bit so I don't get fungus gnats or whatever,
Right. They are an annual plant, but you can turn them into a damn forever evergreen. I'm serious. That's what I do in my grows. I'm like, man, I got to stop. I got to cut off because I'm running out of smoke. I'm like, I got to stop this one. But there's some, I guess you'd say, downsides to overfeeding them because it's heavy stimulation. These bacteria are telling the plant not to die, not to finish. We got more food for you. Right. We got more. We got more. Keep growing. And us, we're not patient. We're all taught, 8 to 10 weeks finish. Cut the plant down.
68 days.
No, don't read those breeder packs. That's, like I said, that's like hybridized fruits. That's like those.
No, you got to read the plant. You got to read the plant. Yeah.
So if you want to stay in the green zone, as soon as you stop really stretching and you stop the initial budding, when it's all white hairs, back down. So the plant can do naturally, especially if you're in a bed. If you're in a bed, then you really have extra weight. And like I said, you want to get it all in veg. That is your money-making season. That is where you build your roots. That is where you build your fruits. That's where you build the platform for everything to build. So what I say is mostly to start them off. You could start small doses around 1/2 ounce per gallon seedling stage. Right. Then start working that up as much as you want. Don't go over like the Holy Cow is way stronger than the Yah-Whey.
Okay.
So don't go over an ounce per gallon with the Holy Cow. You can, but now we're talking about wasting money.
Right.
And because there's your plant doesn't need us. It doesn't need us. Indoors, yes, of course, but this plant's made to just flourish without it, right? So keep that in mind.
We're just stewards of the soil.
Yeah, we're here to watch it. We're here to help it a little bit. But yeah, indoors, you are playing God. So you do have to know that you can help it or you can destroy it. So because like I said, it's about the acids. They love acidic soil, but when you start getting that pH, because in the bottle, we're talking about like a 3.0 pH. We're talking about high 2s sometimes. And the longer it goes, the more acidic it'll go. And that's when you'll actually take those bacteria and it'll start eating the root zone. And that's what you don't want because they're hungry. You've created this extremely aggressive army in your soil, and they're not going to now depict that this is good or bad. They're going to eat everything. And that's why it's a decomposer. So if like you chopping your earth boxes down, you got this big ass stalk, big ass root zone, you're like, how the hell am I going to plant another plant in here? That's when you go 2 ounces or more and compost those roots down. That way, that all that available phosphorus, if you look into what a root actually contains, is heavy amounts of phosphorus. Now you're ready for your next run, but give it a couple weeks to break it down. But yes, you can overdo it. So mid-flowering or whatever you think, like I always tell people, if like you think you got this 10-week finisher, no, you got 12 to 14 weeks using Yah-Whey or Holy Cow. All right, let's just cut that. And then we'll say, all right, around week 5, we'll back them down. And if you start to see little deficiencies maybe later, that's okay, because that's the plant just naturally starting to finish. And what it is it's too much light. Now we got to start turning down that light because you never see any clouds in these indoor environments. And that's one thing that'll hurt you, because now you're telling the plant to work with no breaks. And now you're telling the soil work with no breaks. And that's where you'll run into a wall and you'll actually hurt your soil and your plant. You're
not wrong. I have a lot of friends who tell me just to turn it up. And I like to do that too when everything is working great. But nothing is ever working great for long, for me at least. You know what I mean? So like I talk about taking pressures off the plant in different ways, whether that's lighting, DLI, watering, what you put into it, large amounts of soil, and just let the plant do what the plant wants to do, because it's a weed and it's just going to grow. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't need us.
Doesn't need us, man.
We're just stewards to be there for what it needs, and we need to not input so much and let it get to the point where you can read it, and that comes with failure, and that comes with doing things the wrong way until you learn the right way.
Exactly. And that's what I've done in my little labs. I had to go.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I had to do what the hydro guys do. I've never grown hydro, but I've always had friends that were hydro, and we would always be in competition. We'd always be in competition. So I actually started picking up their techniques because their plants were growing faster than me. We're talking about like 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When I really didn't know what I was doing with these ferments and making my own pond water. And that's what got me into making the ferments, because I didn't have patience. I didn't like my friends beating me with these poisons. I was like, I'm gonna find a way. I'm gonna find a way to get you. So I started doubling down on my health. What was healthy for me was healthy for my plants.
That's right.
And I started learning the importance of certain species of bacterias and the microbes. They do everything for us. Without it, we're dead. You know
how I knew you had a competition with hydro guys? Because earlier you said you can't use salts and hydros to make essential oils. And that means rosin, everybody. That means rosin. That means all you salt head rosin smokers. You know what's up.
You're killing yourself. You're smoking salt.
Yeah. I mean, we all do, but I mean, we all have. I'm just saying, but I caught that.
I went to the Dude Grows Cup, and I had to leave. Like, the smoke was so bad. It was hurting. It gave me a headache. And everybody's like, oh, this is some good shit. I'm like, no, guys, y'all were smoking poison, man. Like I said, man, tooth for tooth, oil for oil, salt for salt.
Hash should taste good.
And big shout out to Miles, man. When I first got out the Colorado scene, that guy took me under his wing. I was working for him, and
I love that dude.
amazing person, amazing growers. We go to shows together.
I talked to him today.
He's a true pioneer.
Hell yeah, bro.
He's the OG for real. Cause like when I was in Buildasoil, when I was in New Orleans, I was watching those guys on YouTube and was like, I'm gonna be there one day. I'm gonna be doing this one day. And all of a sudden, Miles came up in the office. I work at Buildasoil.
Right.
A lot of people that didn't know, but I have a full-time job at Buildasoil. I help growers each and every day. I learn from their mistakes. I learn from their successes.
Mm-hmm.
And Miles was one of the only cats that really took me in and showed me the world that I was already kind of dabbling in, and really helped me perfect it.
That dude, Chris and I met him at a outdoor farmers market last year, and this is when Chris was first coming up with Crop Culture Box, and I remember him bringing it to Miles, and Miles was just like, "Hell yeah, bro! This is dope. Like, I'd love to do something with you someday. Like, just keep it up. Like, just Miles is the vibes. You know what I mean? Miles brings the vibes. Miles is ganja culture. He brings it literally and figuratively everywhere. You know,
he's the ganja warlock, bro.
That's right.
Warlock of the community.
And then, we just had him out here to do a living soil and ferments class, which was super awesome. And like, I couldn't thank that dude enough for the education and just, the advice that he gives. Like, reach out to all these Buildasoil people. Why is everybody so damn cool? Like, you guys just answer everybody's questions, and you guys are just, man, you guys are the coolest.
Good group.
You guys are the bee's knees.
Shit, Chris and I are coming out there for the Living Soil Cup this year, so hopefully we get to hang out.
Oh,
and we're both entering. Yeah, we're both entering. Spoiler, I might enter some rosin too now.
Yes, please do, man.
Yeah.
I'll get to smoke it, so
hell yeah.
I want to try it. And yeah, definitely everybody who's listening, man, come support us at the Living Soil Cup.
Yeah.
Going to be out here in Grand Junction, Colorado. Phenomenal location, man. You're going to be in the middle of the peach orchards. Everything's going to be fruiting. You might be able to pick some peaches, depending on what's going on with the farm. But yeah, it's a certain vibe out here. Like I said, it's like those tuning forks. I don't know if you ever seen those tuning forks.
Yeah.
Same Lincoln tuning forks, man. Y'all gonna vibrate together.
Oh, it's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be so cool, man. I heard there's some Hot Springs vibes on Saturday night. I heard Friday night's gonna be cool too. Hopefully we get to go out to Paonia. And
yes, it's a pinnacle for growing, man. That's where the whole purple weed came from, man, because of those certain conditions in the cold. And well, back to your senescing thing. If you were to try to help drop the temps, it would help bring out the purples. But what I've learned, when it gets cold, the microbes shut down, and that's why this senescing comes in. Is because the microbes slow down. So if you want to slow your microbes down, chill them out a little bit, and you'll get that senesce.
Okay.
You'll get that purpling. But like I said, you can go really quick though from that purple into yellow into burnt or into crispy.
Well,
Then
if you're a trapper, you got to drop it down to 65 so you can get your perps.
Right. Yes.
All right. So people listening that maybe this is the first time they're ever hearing about Thrive, and they're hearing about how amazing this is and your passion, and they're like, shit, I want to try this myself. Obviously, get it at buildasoil.com. If you have a local grow shop and they carry Buildasoil, ask them to carry Thrive. If they don't already have it, they order it through Buildasoil. Definitely get it in your local garden shops. We have it in ours, and they're always selling through. And then obviously I have a few Living Soil boxes left. You are in the Living Soil box, so you can get a bottle of Thrive port size in that. Just wanted to make sure that I shouted that out so people know how to get your product, because again, I've been using it for a while, and I attest to its power, and I know everybody else that has tried it also believes in it. So try to always support the products that are making a positive impact in my garden. That has certainly been one of the originals.
It's a must-have for every grow that I have. Like, it's that fermented plant extracts or ferments, and soil.
Yeah,
and
remember,
the last 2 weeks. I've been using it for like the last 2 weeks, so I was wondering if you could speak on, because it was new to me, those little chunky little balls.
The good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so bro, that's cheese.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
that's
where's
a way.
fermented milk. So I throw everything in there. You're not getting anything filtered. You're getting the scobies. You're getting the actual starter culture in each bottle, little pieces. So if you're seeing little brown chunks that look like cauliflower, save those. You can start making your own SCOBY, your own little cauliflower grains. Those are the grains that, man, they're as old as time. And Pete, I want to send you a bottle, and I mean everybody. I've already sent Chris a bottle, but I want to send y'all some bottles of the Holy Cow to try out too, man. I really appreciate this. This means so much to me. Like I said, coming from
hell yeah, dude.
Fucking the dirty South, being a guerrilla grower, just throwing seeds out in the woods.
I did that in South Carolina.
Like it's huge to see what you can do when you really put your mind to it. And actually get around individuals that speak your language, that actually share the same, the same goal and the same passions. And that's what really lights my fire. Chris reached out to me or reached out in that email and said, these are the products that I want, especially Thrive.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite product, Rob. You made my day, man. I almost teared up. I'm like, man, it's really getting to people. That's amazing. Because, man, I put my love into this shit.
Yeah.
And that's, that's what you see, man. You put your love into something, your passion, then it speaks for itself. And to have you guys doing this for me, man, it's just, I'm extremely grateful.
Doing this for us, like just get the information out there is so fucking cool.
They're loving it. They're just,
I mean, yeah, dude, chat's going crazy. Shout out to chat. I know everybody's probably going to listen to this again. Oh, don't trip.
I've been just watching.
Yeah, I
you can
mean,
watch it later on.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it'll be uploaded.
Look at 3 different people at one time.
Dude, I know.
I leave the comments to Aaron. Actually, I'm like, I don't even read the chat. Sorry, guys.
No, I mean it's my job to read the chat. I'll pop something up on the screen if something's relevant, but I've got the attention span in 4 different screens in front of me, so it's easy. And Chris is very Chris has his questions. He knows what his questions are. He's like, bam, bam, bam. I ain't got to worry about Pete. Pete's over here putting himself on mute, getting high. I got to do something. I can't just be handsome. You know what I mean? Like,
One question I have for you guys.
Sure. Yeah. What's up?
What's y'all starting background in the growing realm? How did y'all first get started growing?
I am I'm an Illinois cannabis caretaker, and I grow medicinal cannabis for my patient. And I also now do education, just talking about the Buildasoil way and trying to tell people in real life how to do it.
Fucking right, dude. Yep, connoisseur.
Yeah. I used to do like hydro, and my dad used to grow weed in the backyard, and I have a water issue at my spot, and I found living soil, and it completely changed the way I garden and how I grow medicine for my patient. I have my time back. I can actually do what I enjoy in the garden. I can water the plants. I can de-leaf. I don't have to pH and measure salt nutrients. It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah, it's the way.
And these guys have heard it all. I mean, like once you find the passion, you have to be undeniable. You just can't shut up about it.
No, you got to tell everybody. You got to run to the mountaintops and start screaming.
Yeah.
Every time anybody has said the word way, I have visually WHEY. I just have to vocalize that.
It is,
That's the way. That's how I see it in my head.
Right. And that's just as fun with like whey protein, which it's a very like as you say, I highly suggest never ever taking whey protein powder. That's an isolate. And the way whey was intended by God was to be mixed with all of the other wonderful goodies that comes along with milk. So when you get whey, you're not getting just this powder. You're getting bacteria. you're getting all of the wonderful minerals, all the carbon components, all of the polysaccharides, and that's what whey really is. You know, it's way more than people can think. You know.
Hell yeah. And Kris, I know Kris started growing for medicinal reasons as well. Pete as well, and we're all just local, and we've all just met, and you know, we're homies, and you know.
Yeah,
Kris,
that's awesome.
Like 5 years ago, it was basically just out of like revolting against shitty dispensary weed.
Yep.
It was just like I was spending $200-300 every time I went to the dispensary because I like to have a variety, you know. And I also like to hedge my bets in case one or more sucked, because I started to realize there was a trend every time I went that they all sucked usually.
Yeah.
You know, with a couple of outliers. There were a couple of local Revolution's real good. I've had some good stuff from them.
Sure.
But, you know, for the most part, it's mostly shit, and it's over dried, and it's because that passion isn't there. So
Man.
I did like
fucking over Redenbach.
100%.
You know, they just came out with a infused popcorn again in Illinois. Shout out to the Illinois cannabis market. That's a different podcast. You can check out the Elevated News podcast if you want to hear me talk shit about the medical market in Illinois.
And I do every week.
Me too.
Yeah, so I did like a lot of new growers. I went and Googled. I'm like, all right, what kind of soil should I get? I made a huge mistake. I went to Home Depot. I just bought like some organic potting soil for the first run. It was awful.
Dude, that black cow, bro. That's what I started off with too. Black cow in the yellow bag.
Not great.
Black gold, whatever it's called. That it was terrible.
Royal soil?
No,
graduated to Ocean Forest, and I still think Ocean Forest has its role for certain people. You know, it works. You can grow a nice plant with Ocean Forest, but I wanted more. You know, and I tried cocoa for a little while and did not. It just required too much watering, too much attention, and that actually was the impetus to me looking into a alternate solution, which led me to living soil, because I was like, this is like a lot of mixing of stuff. It's taking so much time, because I have 4 kids, and I have 4 dogs and 4 cats, and we have 3 birds. We have like a ton of responsibilities. We have a huge property, so it's like a lot of shit. And this is like my side gig. I have a full-time job in addition to crop culture. So I did not have the time to sit and do watering for an hour every single day. So when I was told at the local grow shop, hey, you should check out Buildasoil. All right, tell me more. And it's like, oh, you're not going to have to pH as much. You know, you're not going to have to pay as close attention to it, if at all. And you're not going to have to rebuy your soil every single run if you do it correctly, you know. And like all these, I'm like, okay, this is sounding really good. And it's like, you know, you hear all the benefits with the, you know, you don't have to be as attentive to your garden. You certainly can. You could tinker. There's plenty of things you could tinker with, light colors, and you know, all sorts of stuff. But I just found, for me personally, with all of the things I had going on, that just kind of worked the best for my lifestyle, just because it required less of me being in there. And what I do is I don't get overwhelmed, because I have more plants than what I'm allowed, and it can get overwhelming. There's a lot.
Yeah, that's all lives, man. That's all vibrating individuals calling for you.
I go in there every morning and I just say, you know what? I'm going to take care of this today. I'm just going to take care of one thing. And, you know, I'll do my watering, my regular routine stuff, but I don't let it get overwhelming. And I kind of just chip away at it as the days go on. I kind of spread it out over time. Everything's kind of gradual. Everything's kind of like, I try to keep it nothing too dramatic, no big swings or anything like that. You know, just try to keep it as consistent as possible. But yeah, it just worked for my lifestyle. So that's how I landed here about 3 years ago on Living Soil.
One thing I want to add with you, Kris, about the pHing. Don't try to pH if you're using Yah-Whey. It'll scare the fuck out of you.
Yep.
Because it'll like 1 ounce per gallon will drop it in the 5. And you're like, oh shit. You know, so it's something that you don't even want to look at, you know. It all buffers as soon as it hits the soil. Those acids change immediately when they're binded up with carbon, and it all balances itself out. It's not phosphoric acid. It's not something that doesn't correlate with nature.
Yeah.
So any of these guys that are growing in these cocoa environments or synganic approaches in y'all pH, and if y'all do use some Thrive or some Yah-Whey or some Holy Cow, do not worry about pH, and it's going to scare the fuck out of you. Just trust us. Trust me. 1 ounce per gallon. Use it, once a week or however you seem fit, and you'll do great. The cocoa growers, just remember that that is an antibacterial. You cannot use that in living soil because living soil is a probiotic. It wants bacteria to thrive and live. And just given the coconut husk, the coconut husk is used to protect the coconut meat and the coconut inside. By all means, that means it's going to create its own salts and it's going to create its own antibacterial properties. So when using these two in conjunction, you're not going to see the same results as what we're talking about as if you were with true living soil, because now you're taking the yin out of yang. Now you're making your own shit up. Because I found this out with Royal Gold products. You're saying earlier, Royal Gold is this like crazy blend between synganic, cocoa, and what they're doing is they're trying to make a cheap ass bag of soil. And that's why
heard got pecans in it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, some crushed walnut shell or pecans or it's cellulose. It's crushed up trees and plant and just all byproduct from tree companies that are deforesting. So you're supporting the deforestation when you're buying these cocoa.
Be mad.
These, not a good route to go. You know?
Hey guys, this is going to be so abrupt, and I am so sorry. My wife has been trying to get my attention in the window for a while. I have a family emergency. I got to take my daughter to the hospital, so I have to jump. Eric, thank you so much for your time and for the knowledge that you shared tonight. This was absolutely amazing. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on right now.
Bye, Chris.
She's trying to message me, so I'm going to go take care of that. Have a great night, guys, okay?
Later, Chris.
Take care, guys.
Chris.
Blessings, man.
Keep us posted.
Yeah, keep us posted, buddy.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Pete, if you want to say a little bit about yourself, man,
Yeah.
And this is all great information for me because I'm a former PHer, still PHing technically, but so my brother actually, since we're brothers on the name, my brother started out in 2012 as like an underground grower. We were doing the Fox Farm Trio and Ocean Forest back then, and then now, 2020 we had the legalization with medical and got a house, so it all worked out. And then he kind of took over the grow. Went to the basics for him with Fox Farm, and eventually I kind of like nudged him out of that and went to Nectar for the Gods. So I did that, and was a Nectar assassin for a little bit before I switched over to. I was gonna eventually go over to Culture Biologics. Tim McCormick, who's also like a nectar grower from watching the OCG Fam show. He came out with a organic powder line, dry powder line, and then I stocked up on that. But I did a dabble with my brother was doing a little dabble with Canna, which was was fine.
I like Canna.
It's synthetic, and
they sponsor disc golf, so I mean. Shout out to Pro Tour Disc Golf.
Yeah, if you're going to grow Canna, it was good using them. It was easy. The yield was definitely there, but, whether it was the dry or whatnot, that also factored into it. The terps weren't there, but eventually we bought all that cultured. And again, we're pHing through every line here, right? And then cultured, phenomenal results. I still have some, but I'm transitioning over to Buildasoil. So I've got a tent right now with the 3.0 and some reused light recipe. And I just finally got the box from Chris. So I've been using all that with the Yah-Whey and just seeing tremendous results in flower right now. Day, I think
18.
I think 13 or 14, and just seeing tremendous results. I am adding whenever seeing fit, I'll add a little bit of my culture that, whatever ratio, not like full strength, and still seeing great results with that as well. And, I use a little bit of Photo Plus from Microbe Life.
Yep.
I use some of Miles's pumpkin right now. We also have a local guy. I've been using his ferments, his insect frass as well. And
isn't that the smelliest shit ever?
I don't know what's the smelliest, honestly. It's like everybody has their unique thing that just like hits me differently. Like yours has got a unique smell to it that just like it's new to me, so it hits me a little bit differently. Microbe Life, that one's always been like kind of like a top one, and then the Insect Frass is pretty bad. And depending on which ferment you're messing with, Miles has got a good stingy one as well with the pumpkin.
Comfrey, the Comfrey's rancid.
Yeah,
The horsetail isn't great either.
Going back to your pH, I have still been kind of shooting for that 6.8 range. And, depending on if the ferments in yours is getting it there, I'm not touching it, right? But if I'm not using yours, which I don't think I have when I have pH, thank God I haven't, right?
You'll freak out.
Saying. Yeah, exactly. So I think we've been good on that front where whenever I've used it, we've been in the range, so we're good. But I have noticed with the culture stuff, I get a lot of bubbliness to it, right? Kind of like with the Yah-Whey, so I don't really need to use it when I'm using my cultured, but as soon as I put in the Thrive in there, it just boom, vanished. So I was wondering, now that I got you online, what do you know what could have happened with that? It just lost all that saponin, all that bubbliness to it.
The acid started to break down the saponins.
Okay.
All right, so they're free floating in the water, right? Mm-hmm. Bubbling up. Well, now they're inside the microbe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Now they literally been wrapped in. Remember I was telling you about magnets?
Okay.
They've now attached to the saponin, and it's not letting it free float and bubble and go through the air and run around. Those acids have now binded to the saponins, and now the bacteria is beginning to put it in its stomach. So that's going along with all of it. It will take whatever is in the environment. It's basically a sugar. Okay, so you're feeding it a sugar, which it loves, so it's going to attack the sugar, which is great because the saponin, when now, can get into the plant and not just around the root zone. Because in the saponin will just stay around the root zone and be a sap and be a sugar. It's just going to latch onto the root. Well, now that the bacteria are working with it, now they just ate it, and now it's no longer there to now free float around and make bubbles. It's in the bacteria. Now it's being ready to get transferred into the plant and into the terpene. And that's where you see it blow up. You'll see terpene heads just start getting. You won't have to use a jeweler's loop anymore. You'll see heads on the trichomes just really swell because what I've noticed is the SAP 20 still has somewhat of its nature, meaning they're taking this bark and they're grinding it up and processing it, and that's the 20, right? That's actually what you want because you're getting not only 20% saponins, but you're getting the sugar and the bricks content with it, and that's more what nature intended. When you go into the 60, now you're taking out the bricks and the sugar from it. Now the bacteria are hold on, it's a little bit different, but I'll still eat on it. So I find that the 20 actually works better because look, what you do is put some Thrive in that saponin, stir it up, let it sit for a couple days, and watch. It's gonna start turning into strings. You'll start seeing literally like root zone mycorrhizae. You'll see you'll start seeing these lines and these it looks like loogies in the water, and that's the bacteria now starting to create a chain line, absorbing and then creating and binding to itself, making a railroad track. And that's what you want to see in the soil. So take some Thrive, take that saponin, whip it up real good, let it sit in the dark, in the warm for a couple days, and it'll start getting chunky. The water will start having fat rock. You'll start seeing the actual biomass and the biosludge from the process now, because now the bacteria took it in, now it's pooping it out. It's creating this binded sugar bricks network. The plants love it, and that's what's going to help aloe vera on your skin. Right. It's this gel on the roots now because that sugar and that saponin now has been broken down back into its original state before man took it off the bark, processed it, put it in a bag. Now you're bringing it back to its natural state.
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for that.
I just dropped a link in the chat too for the soap nut powder. I really recommend. Yah-Whey is a great emulsifier, but soap nut powder is just ground up soap nuts, and that's a saponin too. And if you don't want to spend a lot of money on the Yah-Whey, actually, I think the Yah-Whey is reasonably priced now. I think it's great. And I'm glad the packaging's gotten better because some of that, like you get the yucca powder and stuff and the old stuff, it would always clump up and it would get the humidity in there. Yeah, it's the
Double bag
worst.
it with a hard, like a glass or a Ziploc container. Take that bag and put it in another container because it's going to denature and it's going to go back to nature.
That's right.
What it intended to.
Right.
That's what you want.
Right.
You know, it's going back to its original form because it's trying to bring in moisture, it's trying to regroup and turn back on what it originally was. And then you'll talking about price and stuff like that. I wanted to bring this up real quick before I forget. The Holy Cow is priced more than the Yah-Whey.
Yeah.
There's a lot more food in it.
Oh yeah.
But if the price kind of scares some people, I'm gonna do a 20% off sale here soon with Buildasoil. So just keep up with our Instagrams and keep up with the Buildasoil email. We're gonna drop 20% off on the whole line.
Nice.
So it'll be a little.
Let us know too, man. We'd be happy to do something. Whatever. Advertise it, shout it out, tell everybody, for sure.
Let them know.
Please do. It really helps. And then it really does work well with the saponins. Just because you don't see the bubbles as much,
right,
don't mean it's not working. It's actually working better.
It's just a different process. It's just a different process. You can use both of them, and then it's a different thing.
It's just like when you water it in, it's nice and bubbly.
Yeah.
Cool looking, look like a bubble bath. But then 3 days later, when you go water again, there's no bubbles that reactivate because now the bacteria took it inside. So that's what I was trying to say with the water, with putting it into the bucket, you'll be able to see what the bacteria does to the saponin in the bucket with your eyes. You'll see it turn into this gelatinous, like it. You could see it like, oh shit, this is like thick. It gives it.
Yeah, I usually do like an instant tea, so like I don't brew it for long, but I actually left it to go for like a couple hours and 3-4 hours, and it was just like, even in that time to see that difference, it was.
Well, you're supposed to do that with the Yah-Whey anyway. Shout out Jay Plant Speaker always talks about that, where you have to actually let it sit and let it absorb. You can't just like throw it in. I know Jeremy makes it look like that's how he does it. It's editing. I promise. That dude drinks too much coffee and he's too blazed. Okay.
Cannabis, coffee, and cordyceps.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I need to get into the process of doing it overnight.
It's everything. I'm talking about everything because we're now intervening man. All right. In order to kind of back that process up, let's integrate the moisture back into it because we dehydrate everything. And that's like with Rootwise as well.
Yep. Shout out to Rootwise.
Product. Let Rootwise sit in a bucket overnight.
That's right.
Not with Yah-Whey. Always use them opposite because is. Like,
Rootwise is the beginning, Yah-Whey is the end. You know what I mean? Like it's like maybe not the end. They're on the opposite ends of the spectrum. You know what I mean?
One is literally aggressive, live, ready to go. One's been freeze dried. So once Rootwise, the microbes start to develop and start to respawn in the moisture, now they're okay to integrate any other acid. And I'm not talking about just the Yah-Whey, anything from like Miles with fermented plant extracts. You don't want to introduce those super hungry, aggressive bacteria into a food source because they're going to eat them. Right. So let any type, like if you're using all these different mycos or extreme gardening or any of those other powdered microbes, let them hatch. Yep. They've been dormant. Let them come back to life and re-stimulate. Give them a chance to come in. Then they could be used in tandem together. Then you can water them together.
That's why Jeremy talks about inoculation. You're inoculating the soil first.
You're literally bringing back to life.
Right, correct.
You're bringing life back. You're repurposing because, like I said, when you bring in humans, we like to kill things and then bring them back to life. So let that process re-happen. There's also microbes in the sap. So if you let water and sap, let that sit for a week or two, all of a sudden you're going to have a microbiome in there. You're going to have all these crazy bacteria that was indigenous in the soil that got into the bark of the tree and then was freeze dried. So let them all kind of come to. But yeah, like I said, when you mix acids with anything, it's going to go in there, bind them, latch onto them.
Yeah.
And now the bacteria is ready to take them in.
Oh yeah. All right, dude. Tell us where we can get you on Instagram, online, besides just calling up Buildasoil and saying, I have a problem. Can I talk to Eric, please?
Yeah, that's
Always
like 90%.
be nice. Always be nice to people that you call. Please don't be crazy people.
Right. Especially when like you have other forces like that are wearing on you. You know, try to keep that in your household.
Everybody has bad days, you know, like, you know, it might be their bad day too.
Right. But yeah, if you want to call and vent, you know, we're here to help you too. You know, that's why Buildasoil stands out. That's why I love the company and Jeremy, because we don't just sit there and say, this is what you need. We don't have time for it. We sit down and actually talk to you and we gain trust and vice versa. You gain ours, we gain yours. It becomes a relationship, and you're like, you know, welcome to the family now.
That's right.
Yeah, you could definitely get me at Buildasoil or my Instagram, which is Thrive Probiotics, Yah-Whey. YAHWHEY, like the whey protein.
That's right. Hell yeah, dude. And you know, Yah-Whey and Holy Cow is, you know, must have stuff, and you gotta have it. And dude, thank you so much for dropping the knowledge. Dude, you need some oversized glasses on the Holy Cow. I'm not saying that it's a Harry Carey thing, since we're all from Chicago, but it would be cool.
Oversized glasses on the
on the Holy Cow, because I'm not saying it's a Harry Carey thing. He was the old Cubs announcer who would say "Holy cow."
What you're saying is put the glasses on the front.
Yeah,
that's not a bad idea, bro.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Definitely not Harry Carey. Not at all.
So even look real quick.
Hell yeah.
Highly stimulated.
Nice.
Do not use latent flower.
Okay. I love it.
With those thoughts, because I was having some people saying, hey, man, these plants are only getting bigger and they're not dying. What's going on? Like,
I want to smoke them.
They don't want to die. But, you know, that's what I was saying, you know, everything in moderation in the soil does really well. You know, just let the soil do its job and create life. It needs a little boost, though, especially indoors. Outdoors, different story.
Yeah. Pete, you got anything else left to say, buddy?
Man, this has been amazing. I'm going to watch this over and over again.
Same. And shout out to everybody watching this on YouTube afterwards. Fucking Eric again. We're gonna have to do this again. I can't wait to see you in November when Kris and I come out. It's gonna be super awesome. And everybody in chat, we love you all. Shout out to Kris, cropculture.net. Please go get a box. Go get some genetics. Yeah. He can do any of the stickers. He can do as a t-shirt. He's got payment plans. He's got genetics. Dude, wait till you see the October box. Pete and I know, but y'all don't. Haha. It's going to be super cool.
But prayers out to his daughter right now.
Yeah, hopefully she's fine. And wait till you see who we grow with next.
And
peace.